Hello folks, I'm Ed Overstreet. You're watching the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel, and tonight I'm doing some deep space imaging, and let's just head on over to I'm running two kits, and let's head right over to see what's going on with the wide field stellar view at 333 millimeters with a ASI 1600 mm cooled camera. I am taking some HA and O3 and S2 images. Took some last night, and I'm just going to try to complete my project tonight. And so far I've got 49 of 60 HA, and then I'm going to add 25 total. I already have 21 from last night, and I didn't get any S2, so hopefully I'll get ample. I may just go ahead and image all night. There's the possibility of some clouds coming in around 2 o'clock, and so far I've got it set up to image right up to the meridian, and then I'll shut this one down. If I'm awake, I may check the clouds and the weather, and if I have an hour or two more, I may go ahead and let it flip and pick up on the other side of the meridian and do some more imaging. I'd like to have some more HA. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of O3 in it. There is some S2, but at any rate, I also want to show you the other kit. I'm imaging with two telescopes. I have the stellar view right here, which is on the California Nebula, and then on the elephant trunk. I think that's IC 1396. I've been looking at it enough, I ought to know. But this is a Vixen 625 millimeter, and it also has an ASI 1600 mm C camera. So I have I'm using both ASI 1600 cameras, and the filter wheels are identical. They're ZWO filter wheels, and the filters are astronomical on both of them, and so that's what we're doing. This other kit over here that's wrapped tight is a solar telescope kit, and I imaged a good bit of today with that, and had a lot of fun with it. Some good stuff going on with our sun right now. So let's take a look at what I'm getting so far. And I need to okay, this is the California Nebula, and this is HA that's coming in, and we'll give it a little better stretch. My half flux radius is at 1.82, and I probably need to run the focuser, because I was at 1.14 earlier in the evening, and it's gotten progressively worse, but stars are looking fairly decent right now. Guiding is bad, and I'm gonna go ahead and let the mount sleep, the camera outside sleep, but guiding has just been well, it's better. It's at 0.61, and RMS, total RMS, so that's much better. So we can surely live with that. I'm usually tickled if I'm under 1, and I'm under 1, so as my granddaughter would say, goody goody gumdrops. Alright, let's go back to the other kit. Let's bring Sequence Generator Pro. This is the acquisition software that I really like, and I have tried a few others, and this is my preference. I've used the astrophotography tool, Backyard EOS for Nikon, and I have played around with GIMP, not GIMP, oh goodness, what is it? I can't think of it right now. But I'm comfortable with Sequence Generator Pro, and I'm going to do a video in the next few days that will show how I set up profiles and for my kits, and set up Sequence Generator Pro. And the reason why I'm going to do that is that I had a laptop crash, and this is the one that crashed, and I've had to reinstall all my software, and so I have had to add Pinpoint, which I own, and I've had to add Pinpoint, and so I'm going to show you how you license it if you buy it. I'm going to show you how you can take PlateSolve 2 and download the software, and how you can use that for your PlateSolve. We're going to go and really explore this control panel and its settings. We're going to use the Equipment Profile Manager to show, see, I have no profiles as I'm starting from scratch, and I'm going to show you how I set up my kits for the different, or set up this Profile Manager for the different combinations of telescopes, cameras that I do have. And so we're going to do that. And but this is great software, and it does have some issues at times, and that sometimes are explainable and sometimes aren't, but for the most part it just really it's a performer, and it helps me get through the night imaging successfully. Let's go back to the other kit, and let's check out this guiding. This guiding is at 0.82. Or is this the one we just looked at? I think this is what we just looked at. Let's go back to the elephant trunk, and that's going to be right here, IC 1396. This guiding is what's bad. Nah, it's 0.68. I'm actually running another periodic error, another PET curve. I use EQSCOM, and so I'm recording another PET curve, and it's at 3,717 steps right now. It's going to go through 4,311, which is about 9 rotations of the worm. So that'll give it a pretty good understanding of its issues, and maybe it'll help smooth out some of my guiding problems that I'm having. But at any rate, both the kits are under 1, and that's great for me. I don't ask for more than that from them. So let's look and see what's going on with this. Rather small. Let's bring it up to fit the screen. Right click and it does that. What are we using here? We're using we're on 03 right now, and there just isn't a whole lot of 03 in this. Let's try to do a high stretch, see if we can spot any. Yeah, you can see the outline of the elephant trunk right here, and the only reason why you can see it is that the separation of the O3 gases allow you to kind of see that outline. Let's click back and see if we can't get to here we are with some hydrogen, and let's stretch this with a medium stretch. So the hydrogen did a better job of bringing out the nebulosity that's in this elephant trunk, IC 1396. And so this is what we're imaging currently, and working pretty well. What I wanted to show you though is a feature that I've really become dependent on, and it's called the Framing and Mosaic Wizard, and it's actually how I really how I decide in many ways how to enter the information that's going to be my target. Normally I'll start with something like Sky Safari Pro or Starry Nights, and I'll make sure I'm on the current time, and I'll look for a target, and actually here's the California Nebula, and I'm imaging that right now. But let's say I wanted to image the Andromeda Galaxy, which is M31. So what I would do is, let me bring up our, we'll use this to do that. We'll use this particular kit. I'll go to Tools, and I'll come down to Framing and Mosaic. You can also use the Control M hotkey, and this dialog box comes up, and you have some options. If you happen to, if you took a picture of Andromeda and you want to put your telescope, you want to use that picture as a reference to frame your future sequence, then you can browse until you find it. Or you could, and if you're going to do that, then you need to click on Image. You can also enter the RA and DEC, but normally what I do is I just use Object, and I'll just type in M31 and I'll select Fetch. Now, depending on the field of view of your camera and your optics, you may have a need for a larger field of view or a smaller field of view. It really doesn't matter as long as you can frame your subject. You may have to change that after experimenting, but I'm going to click on Fetch, and it's already found the coordinates, and it's put the RA and DEC in for me. And because I have created a profile that will be used to image M31, it's already brought in the image scale. I have added that in my profile when I created the profile, so it automatically pulls that in. It pulls in the width and height in pixels of my sensor. I determine how much overlap I want if I'm doing a mosaic, but we're not doing one. And so what I need to do is draw a picture or draw a box around Andromeda, and it already knows the angle of my camera because I'm currently imaging, and it's determined what that angle is, so it knows that this is how it will be framed. And obviously I would have to rotate my camera slightly in order to frame this better, but I'm not going to go out and change anything because I'm currently imaging with this kit. So this is all I really need to do, and I'm going to click on Create a Sequence. Now, if you wanted to cover more territory, you could go down here to these boxes, and you could add another tile, and you could take in a lot more area. And if you wanted to see what that actually looked like, you could add to your field of view and come down here. Hang on just a second, it's still fetching, and let's do this again. So I could create a mosaic, and I would have 4 panels, and there would be a 20% overlap. As you can see, if I change this overlap, I'm reducing it and I'm increasing it. The overlap obviously will help in the stitching of this mosaic together in post-processing. So let's just say I want to go ahead and create this mosaic. Then I would just create a sequence, and I don't have a rotator, so I would have to manually go out and rotate. We're not doing that. And if I leave a pin targets to the sequence, it'll just add this one to the current sequence. If I put replace, then it would replace what I'm actually imaging right now, so I surely didn't want to do that. And I always keep selected Slew to and center on location and associate working image with all sequence. So if I clicked on OK, it's going to create a sequence like this. So I'm going to have M31 and the first sequence M31, the second, third, fourth, and so each sequence would need to have a LRGB arrangement set up, and so it's easy to do that. You can take run through this very quickly. And let's say I was going to do 20-second exposures and 45 for the color, and I wanted to do 100. Have a problem typing, and so altogether I would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 hours or 4 hours and 18 seconds of imaging time. So I might get in 2 panels a night taking this many images, but I would have to enter the same information for each one of these, or I could right click and I could put copy target events to, and I could click those onto the other images, and it automatically populates them, so you don't have to keep adding that. So it's a pretty cool way to put your mosaics together. And what would happen, this frame would be taken first, this second, third, and fourth, and then in your processing software like Sequence Generator Pro, you can put your mosaic together, and you have a neat, cool image. I am going to delete these at some point in time. Don't need to delete them now, but I do want to uncheck them because I am not interested in imaging M31. And let's go back to our last image that came in, and we're at 190 now. So the it's getting cooler outside. Let's bring up the Pegasus Power Box, and this is my data and power hub. It allows me to turn on the power separately to the camera, the focuser, and the mount, and it tells me the kind of current that the mount and focuser and camera are currently pulling. It also points out that it's 50 degrees, about 51 degrees outside, and the relative humidity is shot up. So here's our dew point, and if you go over to the environment, you're going to see where the dew point has dropped, and the temperature is well, it's not graphing out like it's supposed to. Here's our power graph that shows there's an odd spike there in current that was probably during a dither. You can actually use the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box to focus your electronic focuser. This will give you an idea of what's going on with your USB ports that are located on the hub, and I have the camera attached. I have the guide camera. I have the filter wheel. I have the mount plugged into that, both for power and for data. So very helpful tool. I love them. I have power boxes for all three of the kits that I have outside. I thought about just buying one and then moving it from kit to kit, but I use two kits at the same time every night I image, so I needed two. And then because these ports behave so oddly on laptops, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. They're fickle. That's just Windows. So I decided to have three power boxes, and I have three different laptops, and I have a laptop designated for each kit. So I plug into the same ports every time I go out and image, and it does make it more predictable, and I'm less likely to have these COM failures. And I was having a mess of them before when I was juggling different laptops and not specifically paying attention to which one I used on which kit before. So let's go back and see what our progress is, and we need to go up to here, and it looks like we've got about 7 more HA, and then we're going to spin the dial on the filter and move the filter wheel over here. It'll automatically change to the 03, and it'll automatically refocus, and then it'll start imaging again. My PhD2 guiding is still moving along at a 0.63 RMS total, so we're okay. Nothing crazy has happened since we last looked at this, and we can go back over to our other kit, and that's my laptop that I'm having to reinstall everything to. And let's go back to the other kit. Let's look at guiding and see if it's still keeping us on target. Oops, I saw a bad message up there. Oscom based camera unable to complete image request due to previous error. So, are we guiding or are we not guiding? Let's we ran into an issue, and alright, we're just going to shut this down. And since our guiding has stopped, our stars look crazy bad. So we've got some, I'll show you. So we're going to have to throw away some of these. Let's see how long that's been going on. Let's go back. That's got to go. Okay, so we've lost I'm just going to right click, mark as bad. I'm going to go to the next one, right click, and mark as bad. And then I'm going to bring up this, I'm going to pause, and we're going to abort the complete session because I have to figure out what's going on with my guide camera. And probably all that needs to be done is for me to go outside and unplug the guide camera and plug it back in the USB port. Let's see if we can connect. Okay, we have connected. And so let's see if we can guide. So all really I needed to do is restart. Let's bring up EQ mode. Had we finished? Yeah, we had. So we have a new, we're going to save this pet curve as 11121. And so we're guiding, but it doesn't look real hot. It's at 154. Let's go back to this, and I'm not sure how far off we are, but I'm going to plate solve again. So I'm going to go to center now, and I'm close enough that I don't really have to slew to the target, but I can, and I can slew, and then I can go center now, and it's going to recenter. What you're hearing is stop that for the time being, and let's go back and see what's going on here. We're going to plate solve and recenter the target within 50 pixels of where we were before. If possible. Let me turn on my outside camera. My telescopes may have parked, because it shouldn't take, nope. Okay, this is what you troubleshoot. Alright, so what I'm going to do, it's taking far too long to plate solve, so I'm just going to close this out and abort. I'm going to abort the plate solving, and I'm going to go up to the control panel, and I'm going to go to plate solve, and I'm going to add pinpoint. I'm going to, I got to add, I got to register this, and I forgot to do it. By the way, when you want to register it, you got to click on down here, and you have to type in register pinpoint, and then it makes you enter your license details, and so I need to do that, and they're in an email, so I'll do that at another time. But I was going to use pinpoint because I go back and forth with these plate solvers if one of them starts acting up, and I'm going to make sure the configurations are that they're all configured right. Yep, everything's okay. So we'll close that out. We'll close this out. I'm going to go back to the elephant trunk. I'm going to slew again. And I want to center. And let's see what happens. It's taking a 10-second exposure, and it's done. It found a match right away. I don't know what happened a while ago, but sometimes you just need to reset everything. So we're 532 pixels off in RA, and we're 41 pixels off in DEC. So it did, during that 10 minutes that we were not guiding, that the guide camera for some reason lost data, or a data failure between the guide camera and the mount, and it may be I need to switch cables. And so it's going to correct it, recenter it, and get it within 50 pixels, which is what my tolerance. So we're off in 10 pixels and 7, so we're a total of 12 pixels off, so that's good. And we're going to resume, and I want to go ahead and start guiding again. And we're back to guiding. Clear. And we're off and running. It's got to catch its breath and get its get a dither first. I really need to let the guiding run for a few minutes before I start imaging, and it'll kind of iron the kinks out. Let me bring up my hand controller and make sure that we have we're at sidereal plus PEC, so the peg curve is now running, but this has got to improve some. Let's clear it again. So how do you go from a 0.67 to a 1.21 RMS? My network settings are haywire. I'll tell you one thing I've noticed in the last day. We had that solar coronal mass ejection, and when that happened, we did get a mass of magnetic storms, or major magnetic storm that headed towards Earth. And I've had terrible Wi-Fi between my observatory and my home, and I'm just wondering if it had something to do with it, but whether it did or it didn't, I've had some problems with it, mostly in the day. The night's been pretty good the last couple of nights. Okay, let's go back and make sure we're, well, let's try to go back. I've lost a connection. Okay, so let's go. All right, we're back. Right now we're at 164 seconds, and on this next image, but we got everything going again. The guiding is. This is by the way, I've got a PhD small graph over here. It doesn't tell you a whole lot, but this was where we started a few minutes ago, and it was real crazy, and it started to level out. So I can kind of keep an eye on the PhD by looking to see if there's any wicked spikes going on, so I don't necessarily have to go back and forth to the program, and as I'm watching data come in. So there we are. We ran into a problem. Our guide camera stopped, so we shut down PhD, and then we booted it back up, and we tried to connect all of our gear, and it worked. And so we started guiding again. We also paused our sequence and deleted all the bad frames. that were a result of not guiding, because they are 5-minute exposures, and my mounts are pretty good mounts, but they're still not high end, and as a result we had 2 images that you couldn't keep, so we deleted them and we'll just retake them, and then we plate solved again, and we used the features in Sequence Generator Pro to do that. So, well folks, that's what I'm doing tonight. I plan on imaging for another I'm going to probably go to the meridian on both. Well, one's going to go to the horizon, and or go to about 28 degrees, and then it'll shut down. And that's the elephant trunk. IC 1396 is on the other side of the meridian already, and it's dropping in the sky now. So when it gets to about 28 degrees, I'll image down to that altitude, because I'm shooting over one of the darker areas of my backyard, and so it's a pretty good atmosphere to shoot through. I'm fairly successful getting some decent data on that side of the meridian. But the California Nebula is going to get close. Well, when is it going to? Let's go back and let's find out. Screen share, and let's bring up this is the California Nebula, and let's go down here to planning tools, and here it is right now, and it's going to transit at 2:30, so that'll be about right here. So I don't think I'll stay up to 2:30. What I'm going to do is between now and 2:30 is about 3.5 hours, and I have 2 hours and 41 minutes of imaging time left. So I'm just going to let this run, and I'm going to come down here and click on this gear, and I'm going to put Park Telescope, and it'll shut everything down when it finishes this 25th frame in S2. It'll park the telescope and put it to bed for the night. It will end the session, turn off the camera, cool it or warm it, and disconnect the focuser, and the power box stays on because I want the dew filters running all night to keep dew off of my kit, and or off of my kits. And when I bring up the power boxes and we go back to power, here is the dew filter being applied at almost maximum power for the telescope, and B is the guide scope. So let's see what, I wonder why that's doing that. Let me go back to we'll go to the other telescope, and we'll look at the power box. Oh, this is as well. Oh, you can't see it, but the red line and the dew line are running they're side by side, one's on top of the other. Usually you see one, and then right below it you see the other, or you see them when they intersect, but if you look closely at it, they're actually riding on top of each other. So the temperature and the dew point are one and the same. And what I have found is that if the temperature, when the temperature collides with the dew point, then you can count on having water all around you, on the ground, on your telescopes. So what the power box does is it turns on your, as soon as it sees dew is likely to form, because it has a sensor. The power box comes with a sensor that records both the dew point and the temperature, And so when it knows that these two are about to collide, then it starts running up the amperage on both filters to make sure that they stay water free all night. And my goodness, they do a great job of that. So if they're not needed, they won't turn them on. If they are needed, they turn them on, and they'll apply as much power as they need to combat the dew, which is awesome. Okay, my friends, I'm going to stay up and continue imaging, but there isn't a whole lot more I would probably add right now. But stay tuned and look for a video that I'm going to put up that's going to have, if you're going to be using Sequence Generator Pro or you're considering using it, want to know how to get started. But I had a lot of problems myself. I had to watch a lot of different YouTube tutorials, and a lot of people helped me on these tutorials. I had to read the manual a couple of times. Some stuff like that sinks in, some doesn't, but I did finally get it all figured out, I think, and so I feel compelled in my little world to help share what I know. So that being said, be looking for a video on how to set up how to set your profiles, how to set up plate solving, how to set up your focuser, electronic focuser. What I don't have is a roll-off roof or a dome. I do have an outside observatory, but I don't have them covered. They use Telegizmo 365s, and they stay permanently covered when not in use, and it works great. But I do have flat panel, and I'll show you how all that works, or how I set it up to work for me. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day or evening, wherever it is in your neck of the woods, and say something nice to somebody today, and you're going to make their day, and you're going to feel better too for having done so. Clear skies to everybody.